They say when a man ages, he becomes wise. That's a lie. He becomes invisible. My name is Walter Grayson. I'm 73. Once, I was a name that echoed through boardrooms and private clubs. People used to lower their voices when I entered a room, not out of fear, but out of respect. That rare, unspoken kind of respect that money can't buy and time can't fake. Now, I'm just an old man with trembling hands and a voice that cracks when it rains. I live alone in a house the world forgot, on the edge of town, where even Google Maps starts to blur. The roof leaks when it wants to. The walls creak like they miss someone. It's not falling apart, not yet. Just tired. Like me. Still standing, but one hard wind away from surrender. My children, Ethan and Jessica, are successful. Beautiful cars, expensive smiles, houses with more rooms than memories. They send holiday cards signed by assistants and drop off gift baskets curated by strangers. I haven't had a real conversation with either of them in over a year. My grandchildren come by once in a while, birthdays mostly. They sit stiffly, eyes glued to their screens. While I pour tea they never drink and ask questions they never answer. To them, I'm just a chair with a name. People don't look at me anymore. At the grocery store, I hand over bills with fingers that don't listen, and they speak to me like I'm deaf or stupid, or both. At the clinic, a young doctor asked the nurse to help the old man, as if I wasn't there. I was there. I always am. Every morning, I make tea the same way I did 20 years ago. I sit by the window. Same chair. Same silence. I wrap myself in the old red plaid blanket Margaret knitted before the cancer took her. I keep the TV on with the sound off, just flickering lights on my wall like ghosts dancing. My world has shrunk into a quiet routine. Not loneliness. No, this is worse. It's erasure. Like life is slowly deleting me, one day at a time. But here's the part no one sees. There's a notebook on my nightstand. Black leather, no title. Inside are dates. Names. Places. Things people have said. Things they thought I was too old or too weak to understand. I remember them all. Every slight. Every insult coated in sugar. Every time someone spoke over me, around me, past me. I sit in silence. But I do not sleep. They think time has stolen my fire. What they don't know is, fire doesn't vanish. It hides in the coals. Burns deeper. This is not peace. This is the quiet before something begins. I don't know when it started, the shift. Maybe it was when I asked my son to help me fix the porch light, and he said, "Dad, I don't have time for this crap." Maybe it was when the cashier called me, "Sweetie," and pushed my groceries like I was a burden to the line. Or maybe it's been building since the day they stopped saying my name. But I feel it now. A flicker. A tightening. Like something inside me is waking up. Stretching. Remembering. They've written me off. Dismissed me as old, soft, forgotten. Let them. They have no idea what I remember, or what I'm capable of. There was a time when my signature meant more than a handshake, more than a promise. It meant movement. Change. Security. I didn't inherit wealth. I built it. I carved it from concrete with bare hands and sleepless nights. I remember the mornings in the 80s when I opened my first office. Tiny. Paint still wet. One phone line, a rusted coffee machine, and a vision that kept me awake more than caffeine ever could. I wasn't born powerful. I became it. They called me relentless. Too sharp. Too honest. I outlasted recessions, bankruptcies, betrayals. I outplayed sharks in suits and politicians with silver tongues. Not because I was lucky, because I was prepared. Always. I studied people the way hunters study wind. I remember when Ethan was born. I held him in one hand and signed $1 million merger with the other. The world doesn't allow fathers to pause, especially not men like me. Jessica came 2 years later. A storm of spirit and curiosity. I bought her first microscope before she could even spell the word. In the 90s, we nearly lost everything. Fraud from a partner I once trusted like a brother. I mortgaged our house. Took loans I had no right taking. Spent nights pacing in the kitchen, whispering plans to Margaret while she cried silently at the table, clutching my hand like it was a lifeline. But I clawed back. I rebuilt. Stronger. Wiser. Colder. When the tech boom came, I was ready. I diversified. Invested. Sold high. Bought low. I paid for Ethan's Ivy League degree in cash. Bought Jessica her first business before she was 25. When their mother got sick, I didn't blink, cleared the medical debt before the hospital could even mail the bill. And yet, today I'm just, "Dad, can we talk later?" "Grandpa, what's Wi-Fi again?" "Sir, please wait here." Wait here. They live in homes I built with the bones of my youth. They drive cars I once dreamed of. They smile in photos I'm not part of. And still, they forget. Not even with cruelty. With indifference. That's worse. It's not about money. It never was. It's about legacy. Memory. The sacred chain of respect between generations. But no one remembers who held the line when things were darkest. They look at me now and see a ghost. A man who once was. But I know better. I am still the man who played the long game. Who moved pieces in silence. Who built empires in the shadow of chaos. I haven't forgotten anything. They've turned away from the mountain that once shielded them from the storm. And the storm is coming. It's never the big betrayals that shatter a man. It's the little ones. The quiet ones. The ones that don't make a sound, but leave a scar. Last month, I called Ethan. Just wanted to ask about the heater he installed years ago. It makes a strange clicking noise at night. First ring. Second ring. Then voicemail. I waited 3 days before he replied. Not with a call. A text. "Can't talk." Tried Jessica? I did. She picked up on the third ring, voice smooth, detached, multitasking. "Hi, Dad. Sorry," on a Zoom. "What's up?" I told her about the noise. She paused. Then, "Can you maybe call someone about it?" I am someone. I always was. Last week, I asked my grandson, Liam, to help me move a box from the garage. He laughed, said, "You sure you don't need an ambulance for that, Grandpa?" The others laughed too. I laughed along. That bitter kind of laugh that feels like chewing glass. He didn't move the box. At the clinic, I waited 40 minutes past my appointment. The nurse leaned down, too close, and asked loudly, "Can you understand me, sir?" I said nothing, just nodded. She turned to the doctor and muttered, "He probably has early dementia. Look at him, classic signs." I was sitting 3 feet away. They think the silence means confusion. That stillness means weakness. But they're wrong. I see. I hear. I remember. There was a moment, maybe 2 weeks ago, that broke something in me. I was walking home from the store. A small bag, eggs, bread, a can of soup. My fingers cramped. The bag slipped. Eggs cracked. Soup rolled into the street. I bent down. Slowly. Carefully. I reached for the can, and a group of teenagers passed by. One of them laughed. "Careful, old man. You might break next." They didn't stop. No one did. I stood there, in the middle of the sidewalk, the sun warm. My pride cold. That night, I opened the black notebook again. Wrote it all down. Name. Time. Location. I don't know why I do it. Maybe for memory. Maybe for judgment. Maybe for the record, when no one else will keep one. My pen doesn't shake when I write. Not yet. There's something happening. Something beneath the skin. Like a tide. I don't cry. I don't rage. I just collect. I gather the weight of every humiliation, every eye roll, every... It doesn't matter. I matter. You don't erase a man who built kingdoms with bare hands and expect him to disappear quietly. I used to think my silence was survival. Now I know it's a weapon. And every day I sharpen it. It happened on a Tuesday. No different than any other. Cold. Gray. The kind of sky that forgets the sun exists. I was carrying 2 bags, heavier than they should have been. The wind pushed against me like it wanted to test what was left. A car splashed a puddle onto my pants, and I didn't even flinch. At the corner, my hand gave out. The bags fell. One burst open. Oranges rolled into the street like bright little humiliations. My knees hit the ground slower than my pride. People passed by. 2, maybe 3 dozen. Some looked. Most didn't. One woman laughed. And someone, I don't know who, said it. Just loud enough. Poor old bastard. Probably doesn't even know where he is. That's when it clicked. Something inside me turned. Not snapped, not broken, no. Turned. Like a key in a long-forgotten lock. I felt nothing. No rage. No shame. No heat. Only clarity. A bone-deep stillness. Like when the ocean pulls back just before it strikes. I picked up what I could. Left the rest. Walked home in silence. When I got inside, I sat down. Looked at the photo of Margaret on the wall, her smile still untouchable. And I whispered, "No more." I opened the old safe. Not for weapons. For memory. Inside, dust-covered archives. USB drives, contracts, paper files, phone books, ledgers with names written in my hand. The past sleeping. I powered on the burner phone. Still worked. 1 bar of service. Enough. I opened the drawer beneath the stairs. Inside, a red envelope labeled debts. Not money. People. Favors owed. Secrets traded. Forgotten promises. I still remembered who I saved. Who I ruined. Who I kept quiet for. And now, I would collect. I don't need guns. I don't need fists. I have what they forgot I had, knowledge. Leverage. Patience. I remembered that I used to move people the way others move chess pieces. Not fast. Not loudly. But fatally. They thought I was out of the game. But they forgot. I built the board. The beautiful thing about silence is that no one sees it coming. The first move was simple. A message, anonymous, to a former journalist I once saved from a lawsuit. Back in '97, I paid for her defense when the truth was too dangerous to print. She remembered. She always would. I sent her a document. Not a threat. A truth. A financial report. One that showed my son Ethan had been cooking the books of his venture capital firm for over a year. No lies. Just the numbers. Just the math. 2 weeks later, he was asked to resign quietly. They offered him a golden parachute to keep it quiet. He took it. The second move, more delicate. Jessica had built her online wellness brand on fake authenticity. Love. Light. Raw honesty. I knew the truth. She borrowed ideas from interns. Bought fake followers. Bullied a young assistant into a breakdown. I didn't leak anything, not directly. But I contacted a woman she fired 5 years ago. Gave her a list of PR contacts. A suggestion. A gentle push. And suddenly Jessica's empire of candles and lies began to melt in public. She issued an apology video. Tears and lighting. But the comments didn't forgive her. They never do when the truth hits first. My grandson, Liam, the boy who mocked me, was up for an athletic scholarship. So I made a call. Not to the school. To the sponsor. A foundation run by a man who once embezzled 6 figures and begged me not to go public. I never did. Until now. I told him if Liam's name stayed on that list, the files would go online. The next day, the scholarship was revoked. Liam never knew why. They still don't suspect me. Because why would they? They think I'm old. Forgetful. Harmless. But the calls have started. Jessica left a voicemail. Her voice shaking. Dad, I feel like... I don't know. Something's happening. Are you okay? Ethan emailed me. A full paragraph. No assistant signature. No corporate lingo. Just, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. The messages come more often now. The knock on the door the other night wasn't the mailman. They feel it, the shift, the change in the air. I don't respond. Not yet. Because the most powerful sound in this world is absence. It makes the guilty speak. It makes the arrogant tremble. I walk my hallway at night in silence. I pour tea with steady hands. I watch the news muted, while the world unravels for those who forgot who I am. And in that black notebook, the list gets shorter. Not with revenge. With balance. They came on a Sunday. No announcement. No warning. Just cars in the driveway I hadn't heard in years. I was sitting in my chair by the window, tea cooling in my hands, when the knock came. Careful. Respectful. Not the way they used to knock, loud, impatient, entitled. I didn't rush. When I opened the door, they stood there like strangers waiting for judgment. Ethan looked thinner. Older. His confidence cracked. Jessica avoided my eyes at first, then forced herself to meet them. The grandchildren stood behind, quiet, watching, learning. No one spoke. I stepped aside and let them in. They sat where they always had, but differently now. Straighter. Smaller. Like the room had remembered me before they did. The house felt alive again. Listening. Ethan finally broke. Dad, I think I made mistakes. I nodded. Not in forgiveness. In acknowledgement. Jessica swallowed hard. We didn't see you. We thought you were fine. That you didn't need us. I said nothing, because the truth didn't need my voice anymore. It was already sitting between us, heavy, undeniable. The grandchildren looked at me differently now. Not with boredom. Not with mockery. With caution. With curiosity. With something close to respect. They felt it too, that something had shifted. That the man they thought was fading had simply been waiting. I walked to the desk. Opened the black notebook. Wrote the final entry. Age does not weaken a man. It removes the mask. Those who survive long enough see everything clearly, and are finally free to act without fear. I closed it. I did not confess. I did not explain. I did not seek apology, because this was never about punishment. It was about remembrance. They left quietly. No hugs. No promises. But something had changed. They would never speak over me again. Never dismiss me. Never mistake silence for absence. As the door closed, the house returned to stillness. But it was different now. Not empty. Not forgotten. I sat by the window again. Same chair. Same tea. But I was no longer a shadow in my own life. I was the witness. And that, is the kind of power that never ages.
Subscribe and like this video, more interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.